Hello, Gary here. This week in Linux, we are in week 3 right now. We are working on chapter 4. So I hope you had pretty good luck with your work in chapter 3, working with files, directories, and text, getting used to the Linux command line. It takes a while. Recommend regular practice. So I'm just going to go over a couple of interesting things with you. Let's get a terminal open. And I'm going to record with script. I could spell script. And again, it's always a good idea to tell script which file to record to. And if you're continuing previous work, you need that -A to append to it. If this is a new file, then just type the name of the new file and pay attention to where it goes. So I'm going to go to my CS140 folder. And in there, I want a chapter 4. There's already one there, so I should append it to it. So I need that -A option. If you don't do the -A option to an existing file, it will overwrite that file in script. So you don't want to accidentally overwrite stuff you recorded before, unless it was crap. Let's hope it was not. All right, so I'm just going to add to that file there. Again, if you're using script for chapter 4 for the first time, the -A option doesn't do anything. It just creates a new file. Off we go. So you may have noticed in the beginning of chapter 4, or maybe you haven't gotten there yet, that they reference this file called ls it. It's in the etc directory, so /etc, which means go to the root directory, look for a directory called etc. In there's a passwd file. It says, yep, it's in there. And that's where some user account information is stored, not actual passwords. And so if I do a cat on that file, I can see what's in it. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in it, but not too much, but enough to be like, oof, that's kind of a blur of stuff. So the first few commands in the chapter are hard to search or minimize a little bit what you're looking at. So a file like this one right here is a delimited text file. Notice that every row has something colon, something colon, something colon. There's a bunch of colons in between stuff. So the colon is the delimiter separating these important bits of information. And they start off by using a command called cut. But before I do that, I just want to look into this file a little bit. So what is this file? So to start with, you could just search online for Linux passwd, or you could try seeing if there's a man page for it. So I'm going to do man for manual. My wife said that's a very sexist command. Yeah, I guess so. And I'm going to do man passwd, see if there's any information in the man manual pages, and there is. But this is about a utility that changes users' passwords. Not quite what I want. So I'm just going to scroll down through the file and see if there's any information about that file I was looking at, right? The etc/passwd and options, Wikipedia page for password strength, blah, blah, blah. Oh, there's some other information I don't really care about at the moment. Caveats, files. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's the etc password file. It's got user account information. etc shadow has secure user account information, so probably encrypted passwords. PAMD, we'll get into that later. Exit values. Also C, okay, so they're referencing another man page for passwd with a 5. How do you use that 5? I'll show you. So Q to quit a man page. And what you do is you sneak the number in between the word man for manual and whatever we're looking up. So if I do a man 5 for password, that'll give me that part of the manual section, which should be about the file. So here they're telling me that it contains one line for each user account with 7 fields. The book references fields. Each field is delimited by a colon. So colon separates the login name from the optional encrypted password, from the numerical user ID, and so on. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the cut command to view the login name and the user's home directory. No, we're going to use the optional user command interpreter. That would be the shell if they use a shell. Like I use the bash shell for my user. But there's a bunch of other shells out there. So let's see. Let's try it. So let's get out of there, and I'm going to demonstrate the cut command next. So I'm going to use cut. Cut needs to know what separates the different pieces of information, and that's -D for delimiter, the separator. And then in quotes, you put whatever's the separator. So in this case, I'm going to say it's a colon that separates each piece of information. Then which fields do I want to see? -F, and the book goes over more details about that. Feel free to check that out. I hope you do. And I want to see the first field, comma, the 7th field are what I want to see here. And then I have to tell it where to look. I want it to look in etc passwd file. So instead of seeing all of this information here, I should just see, for example, root, and then bin bash, and then daemon, and then user sbin no login. I just want to see the first and the last, but it's still going to show me all the lines. Okay, so similar to before, but it only shows me the first one, like Gary, and then the last one, bin bash. Okay, saying Gary's user uses the bash shell. All right, now sometimes I really don't want all of those rows. So if I only want some of the rows, then we use a command called grep. So if I do a grep, saying I only want rows that have the word bash in them in the file etc passwords, passwd. So then grep will only pull out the lines that have bash in them. And we can see here there's only 3 of them that have bash in them. Root has bash in it, Gary has bash in it, and Momo has bash in it. And I could combine the 2 of them together. So I could say, okay, for only those 2 lines, just show me the first and the last. To combine commands like that, we use the pipe command. So I'm going to back up to my cut command. And what I want to do is I want to send all those lines from cut to grep. To do that, I use the pipe command, which is that vertical bar, shift /, get you that. And I want to send the stuff from cut over to grep, and I want grep to only look for lines that have bash in them. So I can put those 2 commands together, and so that'll shorten the output you saw above there. Cool. So commands can be chained together by taking the output of one command and sending it to another command, and we can do that with the pipe. Now, suppose I wanted to then send this information to someone else. Well, I could just, do a copy and paste, but I could put it in a file. So let me show you how to do that. So I want to take the information from this command and put it into a file. So that we use file redirection. So let's up arrow to get that back. File redirection can happen in a couple of different ways. The greater than symbol means send that stuff, and then I say where to send it. So I'm going to call this one user-shells.txt because that's the information. It shows users and shells. And I'm just going to bring up another terminal for a second just to show you something. If I do an ls on this directory, there is no user shells file in here right now. And I'm currently in my root directory. Notice the $$ there, $$ here. So this should create a new file if I typed it correctly. Now, again, my commands are working for me right now because I've practiced them before. Usually when I run a command for the first time, I screw it up and I get some error messages, weird shit happens that I didn't expect. So let's see if I got this right. Enter, ls. There's now a file called user shells. Let's cat that, see what's inside of it. Hey, and inside there is that information. So then I could just send that file. So that's an alternative to copy and paste. And sometimes when you're doing work on the terminal, you do have some complicated output and you want to put it somewhere that you can access later. And so that file redirection is helpful. If you notice, let's see, if I go back to script, remember script has that append option. So suppose this is something you do regularly, like every week you want to look up users in their shells and you get new users all the time, then you might want to append information to this file. So if I run this command again, it's going to overwrite whatever was in there. It's going to delete what's there and put in all the new information. To append to a file, and again, this is middle end of chapter 4, use a double greater than, and that will add that information on. So let's just check that out. So I already have root, Gary, Momo in their shells. If I do an append with the command, it's going to double that information. Okay. As opposed to if I just do the single arrow, we'll overwrite it. Okay. Hope that was useful and fun. Keep up the good work and contact me if you have any questions. Oh, one last thing. When you're done, exit script. Exit the shell too to make sure your commands are saved in your bash history. Always a good idea. I'm going to exit this one too. Ta-ta for now.